good evening, and thank you all for joining us. Welcome to Tap India. Uh, for those of you who know Tap India, this is a wonderful series of talks that we have today and tomorrow, which involves the Kochi Biennale and the LOKAME THARVADU. And you'll understand what is happening and how they've made a big difference to the art world. For those of you who don't know TAP is a platform that has gathered together a few galleries. We have a series of events every month. It is our endeavor to put together events, activities, exhibitions, and institutions on the TAP platform to make it a one-stop shop for art in India. So today, I want to introduce both our speakers who have very kindly agreed to do the series of talks for us. So let me first introduce artist and independent curator Bose Krishnamachari, who lives and works between Mumbai and Kochi. His diverse artistic and curatorial practices include contemporary art, design, and sciences. He has exhibited in several shows, group as well as solo, and his most recent being The Mirror Sees Best in the Dark at the Amami Gallery in Kolkata in 2019-2020. His curatorial projects include the seminal exhibitions like Bombay into 17 at the Kashi Gallery in Mattancherry, Double Enders, which was a traveling show between Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore, and Kochi in 2005, other shows that he has done. What he has actually done, which has made a huge difference to the art world, which a lot of you already know, is that he was one of the founders of the Kochi Biennale. And Bose has done something that I think a lot of the people in the art world were wishing they could do. And he actually succeeded in doing this. And you're going to hear more about this, what he did with the Kochi Biennale and the LOKAME THARVADU in the next couple of days, today as well as tomorrow. Our second speaker for tonight is Premji Achari. He's a curator, he's a critic, and a writer based in Delhi. Achari initiated an independent curatorial platform called Future Collaborations, aiming at theoretical and politically informed curation. He's the co-curator of the Bhubaneswar Art Trail from 2018. Achari currently heads the program for the editorial for the exhibition LOKAME THARVADU, organized by the Kochi Biennale, which I was just telling you that Bose is instrumental in. And he teaches history and the theory of art at the Shiv Nadar University. A little bit about the topic for today's talk. Today's talk is about cultural geographies. And you know that history can be created by art events. You've seen this the world over, where there have been activities, there have been new museums that have revived spaces that have actually brought around a great renaissance in the cultural activities. You know this from Bilbao in Spain, where Bilbao was just a small town, and the moment the Bilbao Museum came up, it became a great space for cultural activities, and the museum attracted a lot of people. So there are many museums across the world that have events. There are many music festivals like like the Sundance Festival, but which bring in people in droves. Now, some years ago, we all loved Cochin, but what the Kochi Biennale did was made it a habit for all of us every alternate year. And the entire activity that was created in 2012 when they started has changed the entire geography of Kochi and has made it one of the most important art events in the art calendar in India. And of course, we have a lot of international people coming too. The other thing that, you know what has happened in the last couple of years, and we've all been indoors, but Bose also set up this very interesting exhibition called the LOKAME THARVADU, which is in Alleppey, between Alleppey and Kochi. And he has curated this and brought, again, many artists and artworks into this space. And again, everybody is heading to Kerala to see this. So the entire geography of Kerala has got into the art history and has become very important to all of us in the art world. And today and tomorrow, we're going to understand how this has happened. We're going to get into the minds of the curators. We're going to get into this entire discussion and find out more. I think I'm also here to learn. So over to you, Premji and Bose. Welcome, and thank you so much for accepting to do this for TAP India. And we're looking forward to these 2 lovely evenings. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and also giving an overview about what Bose has done through 2 important programs, which have become a benchmark for what could be done in South Asia in order to revive and activate cultural geographies. At the outset, let me begin by stating that the cultural impact of COVID, the pandemic, is still uncertain as of now. And we are at a time when we are not even sure of how life will unfold, and we will experience it after we emerge out of our isolation and social distance. Even though there is a claim that pandemic is revolutionizing the art world through the use of technology, and the digitization is making art more accessible, it is important for us to ask this question: in what ways these are accessible, and for who this art is accessible? And there is no doubt that pandemic will change the way we experience art. But we need to think whether this shift or break is the sole outcome of this pandemic, or whether the shifts were initiated before the pandemic. So these questions of online, offline, hybrid future has to be read very carefully. And I think we need to also accommodate spaces for many futures. And here is the relevance of one of the many futures, and an important future is the still dominant presence of the important presence of the physical exhibition, which has been achieved in Alleppey, despite the many adversities that was faced by Bose and his team. And kudos to Bose and congratulations for achieving this. And we will hear the many facets and the challenges he had faced today. And so thank you for joining us today. Before we enter into a discussion, I would like to share a short video, which is a kind of a curtain raiser for this exhibition. And for those of you who don't know, this exhibition was first inaugurated on 18th April in 2021. And due to the second wave of COVID, based on the government instruction, we had to temporarily lock down the exhibition. And now it is recently reopened for the public. And from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., all the exhibition venues are open, and public is allowed to visit, and we are getting good footfall in Alleppey. And again, Bose will explain that to you. So here is a short video for all of us to kind of see and understand what has been done in Alleppey. Yeah, so Bose, the world is one family. when did you came across this idea, and why was this idea so important for you? You're on mute.
A very good evening from Alleppey. Especially, I would like to thank the TAP team, and it's coming together of galleries makes it's really important movement in some ways, that in the time of pandemic, these are the kind of changes happen during the time of pandemic, coming together socially as well as, like this is really an important moment in contemporary culture building, contemporary art building, art making. Thank you, TAP team, and thank you, Premjish, for this and Sharon for the wonderful introduction, and hope we can get into that the phase of how it was originated, the idea of how it was originated, the idea of LOKAME THARVADU. In 2020, September, Kochi Biennale Foundation was thinking about the biennial curated by Shubhigi Rao. She has already done her work, 35 countries. She had traveled around and met with artists, selected all the artists. Everything was ready, except the physical part of it. And we were also skeptical, is it possible to make it happen? We took advice from a lot of our patrons, from Mumbai, Delhi, art community. So everyone was skeptical, and the board decided to postpone, extend the biennial to November 1st, 2021. Unfortunately, this also need to be extended. So we haven't announced the new date. This year, it's not going to happen, the biennial. That's news I would like to share it with our team. So the thing is, what can be done when Kochi, the places are, almost like really a kind of vacuum we could feel. There's nothing is happening physically, and contemporary art world, especially when during the time of the September, October, November time, there are a lot of hustle and bustle about, creating, making the artworks, and there's kind of huge things when we were thinking about the past. So we cannot do a major show when it comes thinking about larger context, international project. What is possible is local and regional. And at the same time, in Alleppey, Dr. Thomas Isaac, then former finance minister of Kerala, who put the first initial seed funds for the Kochi Biennale Foundation, as well as for this idea of why not Keralite artists show in Alleppey. He was thinking about it. One of my colleagues from the Biennale Foundation, Mr. Bonnie Thomas, suggested, why don't we have a meeting with Dr. Thomas Isaac and we can think about a project. I bought, Keralite artists, because, when it comes to Biennale making, the Biennale project, we hardly, we have given always 10% of the projects come from state, because it's mostly funded by the state government of Kerala. Still, it was not really good enough, even if we have outreach program and things like that. So I have suggested to the board members that, it would be good to have Keralite Malayalee artist projects in Ernakulam and in Alleppey. Why not in Kochi? Because, people always take it for, people always says that it is Kochi Biennale project. Of course, it is Kochi Biennale Foundation's vertical. This project is Kochi Biennale's one. And then this idea of how many artists. And I happened to meet one of my friend, an old friend, who is also kind of, he heads the architectural side of Mussooris Heritage Project, Benny Kuriakose. I happened to meet him at the Trivandrum airport, and he suggested that he's building some museums in Kerala with the help of the Heritage Foundation and Alleppey Heritage Foundation under Thomas Isaac guidance. I had visited these places, Alleppey earlier as well, but I didn't realize that such a huge potential, incredible site, heritage spaces. When I talk about heritage, it is not really, it is almost, most of the places are dilapidated, like factories, coir factories converted into, some places converted into museum spaces. Still work was going on, and Dr. Thomas Isaac and his team, Mr. Naushad, who is the MD of the Heritage Project, suggested that you can take up these places wherever you want to do the project. That time I haven't titled the project LOKAME THARVADU or anything like that. So I went to see the sites and really super excited, and then they offered lakhs and lakhs of square feet of exhibition area. So I became a little bit ambitious, even if it was a Keralite show. I had a list of people when I was thinking about this project, and I suggested to my board members, I have 140 artists, but still, I was in Mumbai those period of time. All these conversations and all the board meeting always used to take place online, so I felt it is important to see even artists' works at home or studio spaces. I took a travel from Kannur to southern part of Kerala, Trivandrum. So that was a kind of journey. That moment I realized there's so many incredible minds and never shown in their life. Some of them are, for example, this lady called Shanta. There are 3 Shantas showing this project. It's Shanta, Shandechi, we call her Shandechi. She sells eggs and, chicken and whatever. And, and also her home was a kind of gesture from the Indian Institute of Architects, created a small home for her and a small studio space. I visited her space and, really amazed by what she's doing. She's 65 now. And then I felt like encouraging and, collecting few pieces. I bought it from there, and it said, it would be nice to have some great, she's a self-taught person. I was really amazed by the abstract work she had done. She doesn't have any kind of rules in a way. She always, created, whatever she felt like, created portraits, landscapes, flowers, etc. But it had certain kind of sensibilities which is really original and her own. That's what I really felt that, and I have then the numbers grown up. I went to Wayanad, interior spaces of Wayanad, which is like, really a kind of real experience. And I traveled alone, and so I had a good time meeting a lot of interesting artists, as well as I asked them, where should I go from here to, and there was no plan and there was no sketch, I never done that when I was traveling. So traveled from one nook to the another nook, another corner, those kind of things. I experienced the fantastic places. Some artists, they worked in their kitchen table. They didn't have much places to work in. For example, Asha Nandan space. I really still remember how she showed her projects, and another Shanta Kumari Ian and Shanti Ian. She kept her drawings and paintings under her bed, and there was not much place, that. But still, she's done really amazing, her own landscape, her own homescape. We can call it a villagescape, or that's kind of very nostalgic in a way, magical spaces created by in a smaller scale by Shanti. There's so many names like that, more than 267 artists I have invited, from 140 to 267. So coming back to your question, the idea originated maybe, when I talk about Malayali artists, I've done long time ago in 2005. This was a traveling show called Double Unders. Double Unders means both the side pointed boat is called Double Unders. It has also another meaning that did low. Anyway, which I was not aware of it. Anyway, this Malayalis are always like a kind of, you get into one side of the boat and go row anywhere and then land anywhere, they'll become part of that land itself. It's almost like a kind of camouflage with that area or site or location, you can say. That's, when we look at Kerala's economy as well, it comes from the remittance economy. And I'm also interested when Sharon mentioned about the impact of Bilbao. Bilbao is one of the greatest study in a way. The report, if we read, 800 million euros they spend to make a massive architectural, monumental, great museum called Guggenheim, and it is actually intertwined with the city. And you could see that, one side is the kind of heritage spaces, one side is this museum. There's a kind of modernist nature to that. So that vision of implementing or bringing to the city a cultural center or a museum, that 800 million euro, they got it back. The city got it back in 6 years of time. And the economists call it Bilbao effect. I think that kind of vision Dr. Thomas Isaac had, and that is one of the reasons he first put for the Biennale as well. Like 10 CR he offered from the state government when we started thinking about the first edition of the biennial. Of course, left government could not open the first edition of the biennial. It's always that case in Kerala. But like in the beginning itself, we had people working from different political background who was part of our system, part of our Biennale organization. So, sorry, ideas are all molecule, but I had to explain it, Premjish. So the situation happened. It's a kind of simultaneous thinking. It's almost like a kind of destiny to find the places. And it was almost like a fluid nature. I have found the places and also expanded or implemented this project in Alleppey and in Ernakulam.
Yeah. Thank you both for that. See, this exhibition is also a global survey of contemporary art from Kerala and also artists who have Malayali roots in a way. And you have mentioned about your travel, and you have undertaken extensive travel, even I think during the second wave and even before that, this extensive travel throughout Kerala. But even before that, I am sure that you are traveling and you have been lecturing in different art colleges and also in different colleges and all. I would like to hear your perspective as a curator and artist, because it's also connected with this, that you brought together such a diverse range of works like paintings, sculptures, installation, on-site works, murals, which is a repository of a body of contemporary art from Kerala itself. What is the situation of contemporary art in Kerala, inside Kerala? And vis-a-vis, what is the situation of contemporary art pedagogy in Kerala? What do you feel? And what this exhibition has revealed to you about contemporary art in Kerala and contemporary art pedagogy in Kerala?
See, we have 5 or 6 government-run fine arts colleges are there in Kerala. And, I don't want to just go into the academic side of it, but, like always I felt what is lacking in many of our states in India. What is lacking is the first thing is the infrastructure. You know, we don't have the infrastructure to show our artists' projects. We don't have foundries for creating artworks. We don't have laboratories for having kind of creative spaces can be created in laboratories. You know, like I really believe in contemporary art world, we need to have art design and the science that should go hand in hand. We should start building infrastructures for that kind of stuff. And also, I felt that, you know, in most of our, you know, countrysides, most of our states doesn't have a weather controlled or climate controlled spaces for exhibiting artist projects. Academically, unfortunately, none of our students get an opportunity to explore. You know, it is still like a same like situation in the 80s. You know, when I was studying in JJ School of Arts, I was looking for some magazines like Art Forum or something like that, you know, but I could not find much. I used to collect it from the streets of Mumbai. In Kerala, of course, everybody is quite good at, you know, like finding. We have thousands of libraries in Kerala, but when it comes to visual art, there's quite a lot of difference. You know, a visual art book, if you're collecting, it's cost $3,000, $5,000. If you really want to buy a colored, printed, offset printed, good, you know, like of course we can have theories and things like that, but you know, now we can get a lot of online stuff from eFlux journal to many other things. But you know, like many people also not aware of the contemporary philosophy. I was talking to a lot of young generation of practitioners, school, I mean, you know, from Trichur, Mavelikara, Trivandrum. They come home, you know, during the time of this, you know, installing these projects. I met a few of them. So I just asked these young generation, you know, for example, to suggest, you know, are you familiar about this school of practice called Arte Povera, for example? None of these kids were not aware. They were fourth year students or third year students of contemporary art. It's not their problem. I mean, like it's kind of how far our educational system, education institutions are taken up, the physical as well as the theory practice should go hand in hand. That is not happening. The philosophy still even I remember in JJ School of Arts, I never heard about Slovak Zizek or, you know, people like that. Nobody used to discuss about them. They used to discuss about the Plato, to that maybe the last names I could hear from JJ School of Art. You know, so the education system, the curriculum needed to be immediately looked at all these kind of you know, what they are teaching, what they are sharing, what kind of schools they have it. I think we should think about. So I'm not a critic, but I don't want to critique. You know, if we start critique, you have to critique almost every institutions in India. I mean, like I know there's some kids are studying, you know, like very well equipped places, liberal studies. When they get out of the school, they are so much confused. They started coming and crying in front of us with you know, this kind of what they learned. This I'm still doubtful what they have learned from such institutions as well. So I'm not saying that, you know, I would say all these students should, if we are talking about students and academicians, I think we should have residencies, you know, so 24/7 residencies everywhere, like Shantiniketan. But, you know, with contemporary norms and, you know, deals, like as I mentioned earlier, sciences, design, art should go hand in hand. You know, like this is the same case when I was curating in Kochi Biennale. So there's no difference in China. Of course, like China, when they talk about admissions in college, like our institutions, like our fine arts colleges, they get maximum of 800 students apply for, I don't know exact number, I'm sorry, maybe it could be 3,000 or 2,000, whatever. But I was talking to a friend of mine in China. He said for his Beijing, that university for art, more than 96,000 students applied for getting admission in that. 96,000, imagine, and we have 3,000. I'm not saying that, the number, but even the Incheon area I visited when they asked me to curate the Biennale. I said I would like to explore the universities here and then I visited their universities. This is the same kind of education stuff is happening in Kerala or in Mumbai. I didn't find much difference in Incheon. So where is this education only happening in maybe a kind of cities like San Francisco, Chicago, or London, and Germany, or European countries, and like where established kind of stuff. And I think with that note, maybe we can take it up. I don't. I can go on.
I'll say, in spite of all these shortcomings, I think you are able to create an ecosystem of contemporary art and for contemporary art. That's what I feel through the Biennale, and also now through this exhibition. I have to make two announcements. One is that if you have any questions to ask, you could type it in the chat box and then we can take it up. And also tomorrow, BOSE is giving a live walkthrough of one of the venues. So that will kind of give you an idea of the physical spaces and how they have been transformed. So there are coir factories, warehouses, godowns, and all that are transformed into very well-designed, professionally designed exhibition spaces of international standards. So please join us tomorrow for that. And again, related to this, only the physical spaces you have designed, those, what were the challenges in designing the exhibition you have faced, and also the financial challenges, and also the problems with and the challenges that come with working with government. But still you have achieved kind of a wonderful physical space.
I always enjoy whatever I take it up. Chaos not a problem for me. If you can, that's one of the most important thing. I learned it from my life itself. India, when we look at it, it's if you live in Mumbai, you know what is chaos, and you know how to make order out of chaos. So here it is. The most important challenge is that financial challenges. Finance more than designing part of it or cleaning it up and things like that. If you have funds, you can change any places into a magical. You can give surprises to the spaces. And always it is interesting, like I remember Vivan Sundaram was sitting under this cashew tree when we were working towards the 2012 Biennale, and he called me and pulled me up and said, "Bose, you don't worry about my project. But my worry is that looking at these architectural spaces, this is so challenging." That is what is, I think, made every artist excited, like challenging spaces, how you incorporate, how you place your projects in such challenging locations. And, for me, this location in Alleppey is really amazing when I look at it architecturally or interior wise. The scale, from top to bottom, there are different levels of scale you could find. And that three-dimensional or 360-degree of walkthrough of your mind, you can go anywhere. That exploring through those spaces, and I have created it's almost like a kind of maze. I didn't want it to give directions where to go, how to. There is no kind of narration in a way when I put up the artwork. So the challenge is based, definitely it is finance. Like just before the election of last election, Thomas Isaac wanted to give 2 CR. Then suddenly one day he declared in his budget speech, 2 CR has been allocated for this project. My project was proposal was 4.5 CR project, and there were a lot of programs, like which you were supposed to curate, and and also editorially, Premjish was the, Premjish took over the editorial part of it and conceptualizing talks and all that. That maybe you can talk about it after this. But when you suggest, when you announce it in your budget speech, means I don't get that fund before the exhibition. The exhibition was supposed to open March, and it's moved to April. And also I got one of the sites in the last moment. In between, there were a lot of problems that you cannot use that site. This is given it to some vendors, some contractors. We had taken all that kind of stuff was happening. So I was quite worried that, like I have invited 267 artists and also told these artists that, please think about it as a kind of solo show or a semi-solo show of your life, or in retrospective of your career. So that kind of stuff, I've given such confidence to all the artists. So some of them took it as kind of real challenge solo show they produced. So I needed space. So there was a local business family. They created a museum here called Devi Karunakaran Museum, and Mrs. Betty Karan offered 2 properties of spaces. They are into choir business. Mr. Venugopal and Ashok Venugopal given their properties for exhibiting art projects. These people are young generation of YPOs. They are quite aware of, traveled a lot. They know about what's happening. And the lady of this home, she herself traveled 138 countries with her husband. That's whenever she traveled, she picked up things from different part of the world. That's the kind of accumulated. Some part is definitely great stuff. Some part is like kind of memoirs. So anyway, so this family is offered larger spaces, which I have, 15,000 square feet of exhibitions, factory spaces. They cleared all the kind of dumb things, and they must have spent a lot of money to clear up that spaces and given to me. And there's the same thing with, there's a place called Eastern Produce Company. This also belongs to the same family, Goodacre, William Goodacre's spaces. So with all these together, we have like in Kochi, when we were thinking about the Kochi Biennale, we had only 10,000 of square, 11,000 square feet of space. Like in Durbar Hall, 11,000 square feet of space. Like here, I have, when they offered me hundreds of thousands of spaces, square feet of spaces, but in between it was cut it down to smaller thing. But still I have 600,000, 6 lakh square feet of outside and inside. So 1 lakh square feet of wall spaces I have for this exhibition, which is really, really good. I mean, so one part was just recently closed in the Darbar Hall spaces. We closed the 7 artist projects. I will be moving some artist works to Alleppey if I find the larger spaces to accommodate their project. So that's the situation now. So challenges one by one, if you say financial. So I have put the funds to make this happen. Personally, I sold a lot of my work in lesser value, honestly. That's how created. Some of my friends like Shabana Foundation, Faisal, they given 10 lakhs, like that, few friends given 5 lakhs, patrons of art love what is happening in the state. Some people came up and offered a lakh of rupees, like that I got maybe 25 lakhs. Yeah, so rest I raised it myself. Hopefully I get the funds soon. Like Dr. Venu of, he used to be the Director General of National Museum. He's become the tourism secretary now, and also the tourism director. Both of them visited the site and they felt this incredible change happened. They knew about this place, especially the tourism director, Mr. Krishna Teja, IAS. He felt he used to be the sub-collector of this region. So he knew that the location, the sites, and how it is transformed into present situation. Yeah. So this is too much of personal, man. Please don't. Yeah. But sacrifice, I would say, the sacrifice or challenge is looking after your family, man. Leaving them in Mumbai, which is one of the worst thing I've done. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And I think Amita had asked this, can artists donate a work where 50% can go to the Biennale fund and all? Many artists are doing that, in the sense that they have pledged their work.
Yeah, I forgot to say that, that is really, when I send out the invitation was just 38 different kind of, translation of Lokame Tharvadu. The world is one family, translated in different languages, Spanish to German to all kinds of languages. Whatever I got it, 38 script, put it together as a kind of poster. That poster was the invitation to all my artists. There was no explanation of Lokame Tharvadu. But even if it is, like Vallathol Narayana Men's poem, taken it from that, Lokame Tharvadu, it was a kind of dedicated to his guru, or like adored Mahatma Gandhi, and it's raving about his. It's a kind of that writing. Lokame Tharvadu comes from that poem, So anyway, I lost where I want to go.
I was saying that artists have pledged their work, and
yeah. Sorry. So even that letter I said, if the works get sold, even Biennale we don't sell any work, but this project, if the work is sold, you can contribute it to the Biennale Foundation. If at all, there is no jabardasti on that, So if you feel like you donate it, and some friends, some artist friends donated, we could sell some works worth of 90 lakhs so far, which is very, very good in a way. When I look at the pandemic and, some of the young YPO people also visited local, it's also interesting. Most of the works were collected locally. Some works collected, nationally and things like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what Amita. And so the exhibition premise, for example, when Bose had asked me to work on it, what fascinated all of us is the exhibition premise, which is taken from, as Bose said, Vallathol Narayana Menon's poem. It's called Ende Gurunathan, my guru or my teacher, and it's a dedication to Gandhi. We all used to study this poem in the school, and it's like a kind of a very popular poem, which has a particular rhythm to it, and it's sung by the children. It is basically evoking the idea of a global family, and it kind of gives a message to look beyond the home and embrace the world as your family, and not only humanity, but the flora, fauna, even the tiny insects and creatures of that world. And this possibility of this exhibition was incredible to explore. And that is what I was hoping for. And I think we had planned very interesting programs, physical programs and cultural programs, which could not happen because of the lockdown. And many of it had to be shifted online. So some of the programs, for example, we had started the discussion with the artists and also some important academics, writers, and theater people from Kerala to discuss the idea of home itself. Because what if I do not have a home to leave from and also to return to? What if I am a journeyer in the world, not by choice, but by force? So we were also interrogating the idea of home, belonging, identity, and looking at diasporic experiences, exile, homelessness. So that gave way to a lot of interesting discussions, and I think it could be clearly incorporated into the catalog essay which we are conceptualizing. And then again, what Bose discussed earlier about the pedagogy, it was again an important opportunity to discuss about the art pedagogy, the conditions of art pedagogy in Kerala, by also bringing together people from the outside to engage in a dialogue with the Kerala art and also the Indian art pedagogy itself. So we had some really good internationally renowned speakers from Kerala, India, and all like James Elkins, Pablo Helguera, Sunil Mangani, Salima Hashmi, and also very active and emerging writers and thinkers like Kavita Balakrishnan, Sudhish Kotembram and all, were all were part of this discussion, and we hope to continue these discussions. So this exhibition had provided a very fertile ground to kind of think about various possibilities. And again, it has achieved what the title of this discussion is, like created a very active cultural geography. And I wish pandemic had not affected, we could have done much more interesting things on the ground by bringing together people to the ground and have these discussions. Sharon, I would like to invite you, and if you have any questions to both of us, please.
Yes, we do have questions. First of all, my compliments to Bose. I mean, he's created a fabulous exhibition here with whatever the resources were and whatever the challenges were, and it's amazing to be able to come to be able to do something with the challenges. We all know how difficult it is to work with a limited funding, and even the Kochi Biennale, I know how difficult it was in many stages. So I think, maybe just tell us a little bit. We have some questions. I'm going to give you those questions, but I thought just tell us a little bit about, other than the financial challenges, private people have come for. How much of it, how easy is it to work with the government? Because the private people make a decision and it keeps moving, but how easy is it with the government when you have to work on such large scale projects? Can you tell us a little bit about those challenges? And then we'll go to the questions that we've got.
Sharon, in that case, definitely we are lucky to have a fantastic government support. Especially, it was started by Sri M.A. Baby, and from there, from both the political parties, always supported the project. None of the other. I don't think any of the other states have such important contribution from the state for culture. So in that sense, definitely important. But whenever they offer a fund, sometimes it takes months and years to get it in your hand. So that's one of the most saddening part of it. Both the side, bureaucrats as well as political figures, they are quite aware of contemporary culture. Maybe Kochi Biennale Foundation, Kochi Musiris Biennale given them a kind of platform to learn from. And that brought incredible wealth as well as pride to the state, pride to the local community. How much the local community is engaging with the project is also a kind of important aspect that they could experience it whenever they visited the site, visited the exhibition. They felt that there is a kind of local support. You know, that's how I could create it in Kochi, or we could create it in Alleppey as well. So this kind of understanding of definitely wanted to contribute to the government believes that sharing whatever so this state play an important role for secularism. So that is reflected in art practices or giving back to cultural institutions and things like that. Now that is like this project is also for me one of the most interesting aspect is also the diversity of practices coming from the state is incredible. Such schools I have been traveling every state of India to look for artists, or as much as possible I like to grab. And like when I was also surprised to see some amazing conceptual works, to arte povera, to abstract, to surreal of course you have seen it in Kerala, but you cannot really expect Viswanathan, too many Viswanathans from Kerala. But I could find Harisha Channangod has done amazing abstract works and conceptual work of Vivek Vilasini. To this an amazing video is produced by Sumed Rajendran to and so many artists. There's young artist called Vidin Dhanudharan. He traveled from Kerala to Madhya Pradesh. That case is about the 16 people that migrant died on, the train run over to them. So that story, it's also 80 minutes video created by this young, brilliant kid. So there are so many talent, 267, you can find many schools of thoughts in that space itself. And the state is definitely economically.
Yeah, just adding to what Bose said, from the state government to the local government, the support is incredible. I think this exhibition owes a lot to the district panchayat of Alleppey. And
yes.
The district panchayat member advocate Riaz, he's the one who is
advocate R Riaz is everywhere to support. That's the municipality, local municipality and panchayat. Everyone, even the food is given free by the
to the volunteers and to the team. They have arranged the food.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How amazing that you people have created this energy which has included it. You've been inclusive, so naturally everybody has come forward to do their bit. So we have a couple of more questions. One person has said this: the Lokame Tharvadu is such a powerful concept, and I hope this exhibition will be documented in a book. So how is it with the documentation? I mean, even if you can't do a book now, you must do it at some point, right? So
yes,
definitely.
That's in the pipeline, and we have a documentation team that's photographing and also doing a video documentation, despite all the kind of constraints they have. And we are collecting the artist bios and the statements and everything. So that's also in the process. And yes, that's one of the reasons I got involved into the project, is to come out with a catalog. And the idea is to bring out again, not only artistic perspective, but also bring out a cultural perspective through this exhibition. And again, extend the dialogue and possibilities about home, belonging and all. And also talk about the contemporary culture of Kerala, looking at through this exhibition. So that is in the pipeline.
I think we should have festivals like this is a festival for me. Even this pandemic period, I call it a festival. Like the festival changed the cultural landscape of Kerala and many other places also, as Sharon mentioned about music, literature festivals. So I think, these things are happening. I mean, like Kerala, when I take Kerala, the first film festival in Trivandrum, IFK, and then theatre festival in Thrissur. So this can go on, I mean, like, and also people coming together to make it happen, so like the younger generation. And I really felt that, it is, this is expanding, like people really feel like, they wanted to produce something similar to, I was last week, I was 2 days ago, I was in Coimbatore. The city wanted to make something similar. They wanted to have museums, you know, kind of, so that they are looking at, like other cities are also learning from these projects, which I'm really,
Yeah,
really
because
happy.
you've shown the success. I mean, you've overcome a lot of the challenges, and I'm sure there are many more challenges left. But the example is a great example for many people to follow. And also people can identify with this because you know how it is in India, and everybody knows how difficult things are. You go to
But
Venice, or you go to the other biennales, you come back feeling, oh, lovely, I wish I could do it. But here you've actually done all of this.
like
So it's
Shannon,
very
I want to
inspiring.
really say that, like I sit on this board of International Biennale Association, and every Biennale Association, every member, they always ask, how do you bring so many people to your city, and the local public, they're really surprised by the local participation. That, like that enthusiasm we could create, like every city, it is possible. It is important that how much our local public is involved with a project like this is always important. And, like in India, we could do it because of the patronage come from people like you. You brought your friends, Kiran Nadar, to Tata Trust, to like so many individuals, they contributed. The location may be southern India, but but there's a solid artistic communities that coming
No,
together.
it's
And
it.
looking at your tap
I
also, it's
think
a kind of reflection of coming together. I mean,
Yes, I
it's
think
important to
what you
come
did
together.
was you involved everybody. And it was really a feeling that it was everybody's biennale. It was something that you were not doing for Kerala but doing for India. So I think that made the big difference. That it geographically it may have been Kerala, but it was really very inclusive of everybody else. I think that was what was the thing that was communicated. And obviously the local people participated because they were made to feel special too. So I think that played a very important thing. I have a question here from somebody who says, how different are the artists of today from the artists of the 80s and the 90s? But I think they're very much more involved, right? Because so you tell us this, answer this question for this person who's asked this.
It depends on where, like I was in Mumbai in the 80s, and it's so generous. I would say that, one of the finest thing happened in my life is generous, open-minded, like Akbar Padamshi, Lakshman Shrestha, to you take Tayyab Mehta, Abdul Dodia, Sudarshan Shetty, you take anybody's name, even if you go to Delhi, all the artists are so senior generation, but that kind of sharing, Milli Gobai, I have so many stories to say about that. Like present generation is really smarter than us. They are quite, but I think it is always important to look back and important to know about your roots, where you come from. That makes you stand strongly. So most of these people, just when we talk about, for example, liberal studies, they forget about their hands. They forget about the craftsmanship, skill, masters, all those kind of things. I'm not saying, that is what, take examples of great successful business people like Steve Jobs. He used to practice every day calligraphy. Wang Shu, the great architect, like daily practices makes everybody. And readings, it's important that newspaper readings too, that physical touch always makes lots of difference. So physicality, that's, I always, this show is also for me an important physical project, and wish I could show it to them. Many people ask
You
me, why
you are
don't you
going to
do
show it.
anything?
You are going to show it
but
tomorrow.
I only give a little bit of part of glimpses of always, tomorrow also I'll give some glimpses, but I don't want to show everything.
Yeah. So somebody has asked us about. Somebody here has asked about the maze. So I suppose we are going to see more of the maze tomorrow. I think we're running out of time. So, so shall we regroup for tomorrow evening at 4:30? Is that okay? And then you'll give us a glimpse of this fabulous exhibition. Yeah. We want more than a glimpse, Bose.
No, but it's like, it takes actually, if you want to really see this, it takes 4 days to see. I can run around and show, but still I won't be able to complete it in 45 minutes or 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll give 37 artists' work tomorrow. It's in one site called Eastern Produce Company.
And we'll definitely see as much as we can, and I think maybe that's a good magnet to get all of us.
Premjish will give an overall picture about how the location was, and all the locations he talks about, so you get an idea of how the maze of things were created. Yeah.
There was a question about kind of talking about the transformation. So you will see that tomorrow. You can visually see that transformation tomorrow in the presentation, and also what Bose will show you tomorrow.
So all those of you who are here today, please join us again tomorrow, and do tell your friends. We're also on Facebook because we have our view room allows 100 people, and those of you who if we exceed the 100 people, then we have it on Facebook as well. So thank you. Thank you, Premjish, and thank you, Bose.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
See you both tomorrow at 4:30. Okay, and see the rest of you also at 4:30. Thank you so much. See you. Good night and goodbye.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Bye.